Good evening, everyone, and welcome. So we have the Father Gabriel Zeiss lecture here tonight, the Father Gabriel Zeiss Endowment for Roman Catholic Theology and Franciscan Studies, and I just want to thank you all for coming. And I'm here to get up to introduce our speaker tonight. My name is Father Joe Lehman. I'm the Vice President for Mission Integration. And our speaker tonight is Father Paolo Benanti, an Italian friar and a member of our own order, the Third Order Regular Franciscans. And Father Paolo was born in Italy, in Rome, in 1973, and he's joined the Franciscan Order in 1999. And he earned a degree in mechanical engineering from La Sapienza Università in Rome. He also earned a graduate degree in philosophy from the Pontifical Lateran University, a graduate degree in theology from the Pontifical Gregorian University with special interest in ethics and moral theology. His doctoral studies were done in the area of bioethics, both at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., as well as the Gregorian in Rome. And Father Benanti is now a professor of moral theology, bioethics, and neuroethics at the Gregorian. He's also a current member of the Task Force on Artificial Intelligence of the Agenzia per Italia Digitale and the Prime Minister's Office. And last month, the Agency for Digital Italy published a white paper titled Artificial Intelligence at the Service of the Citizen, the service of humanity, and not the opposite way around. And Father Benanti is also the author of numerous academic and popular articles and has recently published the books Posthuman to Posthuman, Neurotechnology and Human Enhancement, and also Oracles between Algorithmic and Algocracy. I had to practice it a couple times today. Algocracy, I had to look this up as a definition. What is that? It relates to the increasing reliance of public decision-making processes, bureaucratic, legislative, and legal, on algorithms. So you'll hear Father Paolo talk a bit tonight about algorithms. And finally, at the beginning of this year, Father Paolo was elected to serve as the Minister Provincial of the Third Order Regular Franciscans in Assisi, Italy. So without further ado, I invite Father Paolo to come forward.
Thank you, good night, thank you for the invitation. AI, artificial intelligence, is a huge topic with a huge hype. If you open up Netflix, you can find a lot of movie, a lot of series, a lot of book, everything that talk about AI. But not all the things that we can read, not all the things that we can hear about AI are true. Not everything is positive, and something is really negative. This night I would like to make with you a journey through AI just to point out everything in life, from the first hammer, when we developed it in the ancient age, to the nuclear bomb, to AI, is not bad or good. It depends on how we use it. Now, the problem with AI is that for the first time in our history, we are developing something that is not so unique, deterministic, in the sense that we train an AI, but we are not able to know until it executes what it's trying to do, what will be the result of what an AI will do. That could produce to us a sort of discomfort. We could think that we are losing the grip, we are losing control on what we are developing. Is this the first time that happened for us? Let me start from a little narrative. In the 16th century, something new happened in the Western history. Galileo, the famous physician born in Pisa, in Italy, simply started to use a new tools, lenses, to start to look at the world. With this new artifact, we developed two things. we developed the telescopy, that is an instrument to study the infinite big stars and sky. And what we understand of the world changed forever. The Earth was not anymore in the center of the universe. We was a little part in a far, far galaxy away, like a famous movie said, and everything changed. Someone after Galileo used the lenses to develop something else, to develop a microscopy, to study the infinity of little things, and everything changed again. We was not a human being, we was a series of cells, a series of living beings, and the understanding of the human being was changed forever. So we already passed through something like that. In some point of our history, we developed some kind of artifact that asked us to understand in a totally different way what the universe is and what we are. Now, it's not a matter of lenses, it's a matter of data and computers that work on data. We are not developing a telescopy, we are not developing a microscopy, we are developing something that we can call macroscopy. That is a computer that works on data and study the infinite complex relationship between data, finding schemas, find this connection where the human brain cannot. And everything is changing again. If you ask to a neurologist, what does it mean to think? He starts to explain that our things, what we have in our brain, is simple a correlation between the neuron and the data exchanged between neurons. If you ask to someone that studies the stars, what does it mean to have a black hole or something like that, they tell you that with the radio telescopy, they are achieving more and more data, and computers are finding an explanation to connect the data. So yes, like with Galileo, we are in an age of discomfort. But what does it mean, discomfort, applied to the AI? Let me see some example. Like Galileo, as simple to see through the telescope to the people that do not believe that everything is changing. Let me ask you to see through this kind of instruments to see what is changing in our reality. And if you think that AI, artificial intelligence, is something that is far from you, just remember that the last time that you Google something, you interact with an artificial intelligence inside the Google servers. So, let's go to see some perspective on the way in which AI is changing our world. The first thing is the works, the kind of job that you can find in 20 years from now will be totally different from the works that we know today. Workplaces will be really different. Just to give you an example, when you order something on Amazon, from the time in which you click on order button to the time in which the packet will be outside of the warehouse to be delivered to you, and human hand touch that box or the things that you order just for 85 seconds. The rest of the things are made by robots. It's made in an automatic process, and there is no needing from a human being. A production of a car today, no less of 25% of time needed to build up a car made by a human being. The rest is made by a machine. But not only this, look at that. What you are seeing is not a fictional, it's happening in London. They call that Babylon Health. The little figure here is the general practitioner. And this is the screen that you see when a patient calls London doctor to have a diagnosis. The AI simply transcribes all the description, all the question and the answer that the patient gives to the doctor. The doctor is following the question that the machine suggests to ask to the patient. And you can see real-time face and voice detection to see, you see, confused, if the woman is understanding what the doctor is asking to her.
Okay, no.
Now, here in the middle, you can see a real-time exchanging statistic on the cause of the disease that the woman has. Upper left, you see the medical the medical history of the patients, the digital twins that give an outlook of the general health status of the woman, and upper right you see the real-time tagging of the discussion between the doctor and the patients that pick the right word to simply classify which kind of disease could be from the patient that is calling the doctor. Now, you can see, or probably you heard, that he told to her, I agree with the AI assessment. So, what happened? That the doctor is simple agreeing with the machine on the diagnosis.
So I'll send that prescription to you.
And it's really practical, huh? 20 minutes and the prescription will be in the pharmacy near the patients. But the machine recognizes that she is not happy. Because you know, the Meniere disease that was diagnosed by the machine could be felt like a really serious disease. You can think that you have a brain cancer. But the doctor is simple give her a relaxing explanation that could be awful in symptoms, but not so severe as a pain.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Great. Okay, so I'll just run through the next steps to confirm your diagnosis and how to take your medication safely.
So what happened? This is not a fake. Babylon Health is a startup that is working with NHS, National Health System in London. And just to give you an outlook, probably you heard something about Brexit. One of the major causes for Brexit was the cost of healthcare. In Europe, we are used to have a public healthcare system, and because population is aging and the cost of healthcare is rocket starring, we need to use some system to pay less what we want. Now, to have a medical doctor, you have to study 10 years. Now, this AI system is switching an old rich profession, like medical doctor, to a phone call operator profession. What is a white collar will become a blue collar. And can you imagine what happened after 5 years in which your professional skill will be to repeat questions that a machine is suggesting to you? How much the skilled you will be. And if before the title that the university gave to you was enough to work, now, if you don't pay the monthly fee to the Babylon Health System, you can't work. More than that, you see that the diagnosis was a statistical one. In the 92% of cases, that was a Meniere syndrome. What happened to the rest 8% of cases? Are they number or people? 8 people on 100 will be not well diagnosed. So this system gives us a huge power. It's unbelievable cost saving, but also the use of data that Babylon Health will have from this system could really jeopardize the healthcare system. Can you imagine? Simple matching this data. They know which kind of medicine will be more needed the next years. And they can rise up the price of the medicine just knowing which kind of medicine you'll need. More than that, you know, London, it's really a multicultural city. But where was the doctor that was answering to that girl? Is him in London? Is him in Bangalore, India? Where is him? And for sure, the paycheck that you have in London is not the same that you will have in Bangalore, India. So what you produce is a global competition in an English-speaking world in which the less paid is the most profitable doctor that can work. So what I'm suggesting to you is that the danger of AI will be not the doomsday like in Terminator, but the end of the middle class like we know until today. If one of the best professions that we know, medical doctor, can be transformed in something like a phone answering machine, and if the only use of the human doctor is to connect the emotional answer of a patient to the diagnosis of a machine, everything is changing. Now, to go more than that, what you see now projected on the screen is an IVF, in vitro fertilization. Huge bioethical issues. I'm not interested on the ethical issues of IVF. Okay, I'm a Catholic, for me it's a bad thing, but people is doing. Now, if you make a digital images of a fertilized embryo, and you simply tell to a machine with a machine learning algorithms to choose one embryo to be implanted in a woman womb, now you have much possibility to have a baby than if a human being pick the embryo. There is only one problem, that you don't know why. Now, that could be really good for women because it's a really stressful therapy. And if you go inside an IVF, you would like to have a more success rate than others. But you are simply saying that it's really okay that the next DNA of the human being could be chosen by a machine. So transformation that an AI could produce in our society is deep, radical, and without any precedent. Should we allow that? Which kind of question we should ask to ourselves? Because before something like that is developed in Stanford, not so far from here, could be used in our society. Now, facial recognition and computer vision. Me and you, we have something that we call vision, the ability of our eye to have some kind of electrical transformation that bring to our brain what we see in an images. We are not the best animal in vision. Eagles see really better than us. And we are not the best machine in vision. A satellite with his lenses can see much better than me and you. But we have something that a machine cannot have until today. We have perception. So we are able to distinguish a human being from a chair. Now, machine, it's easy to have a computer vision that has also perception. So it's not just a feed of video. Machine can describe what is seen. For example, an adult, the identity, the face, where is the face, and you can have an easy description of the dresses and something like that. What does it mean for privacy? What does it mean for a society that put the values of freedom and self-determination as a core values of itself? Simple, you can cancel the general privacy and the society could be forever different. What does it mean proof of identity? Probably you are used to have a proof of identity with your fingerprint, but up to today, or with your university badge. I saw that you swipe before entering, but you have to agree. You have to give your badge and someone has to swipe. Now with your face, it's enough that you walk and I can pick it. Who is the owner of your face? Yourself or the camera put in the campus? Can you imagine? This is a scene taken from a famous TV series, probably you know it, Black Mirror on Netflix. And the problem is that it's really in use in China. They call social credit, where the social network give you a number, and more high is the number, better service from the state you get. So if you have friends that do not criticize the system, if you are a good citizen, if you buy the good things on Alibaba and other services, your score will rise up. And you will have a visa, you will have better school, you will rank better in the matching site to find a marriage or something like that. It's a social credit where the state push you to the preferred behavior because altogether is better. This is the China style. So also the social relationship can change a lot. The last picture that you put on Instagram was not a picture, was a short movie in which the best frame was suggested to you from an AI system. So also the quality, also the beauty that you perceive is not anymore yours. It's a machine that knows you better than yourself and is suggesting to you the kind of frame that the machine knows you like more. What does it mean to be human today? If a machine knows yourself better than yourself. Also the house, smart home. You are used to have smart speakers, Amazon, Alexa, and something like Google and things like that. I can tell you a funny story on that. I have a really old fryer in the room near my room. Someone gifted me Alexa. I have to remove because the female voice that come out from the smart speaker at night make him really nervous. So social behavior can change, but also what we understand as home is changed forever. It's something that is smart. But AI could be really useful. I don't know if you are aware of this service, PhotoDNA from Microsoft. If a child is exposed or abused in internet, PhotoDNA with an AI make a unique identifier of the face of the kids. And if it surfaces in another online service, it will be linked and the identity is revealed to the law enforcement. So AI can save life. It's a wonderful tool to protect and to fight crimes, but it's also wonderful tools to make crime. Yesterday, a paper on Washington Post simply revealed that two Israeli researchers developed a malware that is easily injected in an MRI or TC system and can hide or put cancer symptoms inside the TAC scan or an MRI. So, do you remember when the Clinton simply start to cough in public and the doctor has to say that the Clinton is okay, was just a pneumonia? Imagine if I can tamper the TAC, the CAT scan. I can force her to renounce to the president election. I can have a political effect on a state. So AI can be used for good or can be used for bad. So a lot of question marks arise from something that is not far to come. It's already in our pocket. Now, ethics start here. When we look one to the other, face to face, and we ask to ourselves, what should do? What we shouldn't do? Who is the one that has to decide? Which kind of policy we should ask? Which kind of knowledge we to have to develop and to implement a good AI system? To answer those questions, we need to make a step back. We have to start from far away to understand what does it mean to be human, to say what is a human decision in an age of a machine decision. This is why I will drive you to this section that would like to simply stress what does it mean to be human in a technological world. We could think that technology is a problem just today because we develop too much technology. Is that true? Is this a correct answer to the technological problem? Because, you know, we are a really unique species. 70,000 years ago, all the human beings live in Africa. And we start a long, long journey that brings us from Africa to every latitude, to every longitude in the world. What happened? That as a biological species, we make something unique, really different from other species. When a mammoth moves himself from the northern of Europe to go in Africa and to go in India, he has to wait that someone of his descendant lose the thick barb, the thick skins that they have to adapt and survive in the hot environment of Africa and Asia. When 70,000 years ago, we moved to Siberia, we don't wait from a long-barbed human being, an hipster, but we simply dress ourselves with the mammoth skin. So where the other species have all the competence inside genes, We use technology to change the world and to change ourselves. So we live in a techno-human condition. That means that the world and the reality that we have and that we know, it's something that is understood through a technology, through a technological artifact. We know also God through a technological artifact. We call it book. The Bible is not something that simply arises like a mushroom. It's a technological artifact. Bread and wine, it's not product of the nature. They are technological artifacts. So this unique condition that touch our belief, that touch our way to be in the world, has to be understood to try to answer to the core question of what does it mean to develop an intelligent technology. And here we face the real core question. The problem is that every season of the human journey on Earth has a different narrative. We know at least 3 different narratives on the Earth. The first one is a reality that was space and time of God, in which everything that happened was connected to God's will. It happened in the Roman and Greek temple, in which everything is explained as a God wills. Then we developed, that happened something that we can say scientific revolution. I'm making short a long story, just to make it faster. And happened that reality is an absolute space and time. When Galileo and Newton simply start to measure everything, and simply start to connect time and space, we develop science. Science is a measure of reality with the ability of prediction thanks to math. If you don't believe that, let me explain you with a simple example. You know, before scientific revolution, monks was the core system of Europe. And according to monks' prayer, they have to fast until the 9th hour of prayer, none in Latin. That means 9th. Now, what happened? That we live in a northern hemisphere of the Earth, and the daylight, it's really different winter time and summertime. And can you imagine what does it mean to fast until 3 p.m.? This is the 9th hour in Rome, in a northern environment like Germany or like UK. And this is the reason why none in Latin, when they arrived to London, became noon, midday. There was no problem because there is not an absolute time. Time was really elastic. When we developed the mechanical clock, time is the same duration, is the same things everywhere and in every place. Then, to make short a long story, Albert Einstein happened, and time is not anymore an absolute. And what remains? What remains is data. Reality now, we understand reality as a data-driven reality, where data suggests us what are the rules, what are the absolute, what does it mean, this reality. Simple to give you an explanation of this different narrative, let me try to answer to a simple question. The question is really actual today. Rain, so an exponent of the first model, God's reality, will answer to this question, yes, it's raining to let the grass grow. The first model, it's explaining everything like connected to an ant. It's raining to let the grass grow. I have an eye to see. I have a tooth to eat. Then, with scientific revolution, we never ask ourselves what is the end, but we are looking for the causes. It's raining, yes, because an hot wind is encountering a cold wind, and so the steam inside the hot wind will collapse, making the drops, and the drops are attracted by the gravity, and the gravity produces the rain. I don't know anymore why it's raining, in the sense of for which kind of ends, but I know for which kind of causes. And I tell to myself, if I control the causes, I can control what happened. Welcome to the technological world. Now this model is not working anymore, and when we say, it's raining, someone is answering where the umbrella are opened. Welcome to correlation. So the data-driven belief is a simple correlation of things. We renounce to know the why behind and the end, but we have the power to control what happened and the power to know what happened, where it is happening. If someone of us will get a cancer, we don't explain it like an ants. God wants that you die. We are not explaining it with causes. We don't know which causes produce you that kind of cancer. But we make a correlation between your DNA and chemotherapies, and we offer and we suggest you the best one that works for you. So this age of AI is an age of correlation, in which if we renounce to an explanation, AI gives us a huge power on what's happening. And this is the big game. I don't know what does it mean to speak with a language, but Siri can give me a control on my phone. And this is wonderful for a market that desires to sell stuff to ourselves. But correlation has strange effect. For example, this is something that we call spurious correlation, in which you see that there is a direct correlation, that means that the two values go together, between US spending on science, space, and technology, and suicide by hanging, strangulation, and suffocation. Some of you think that more you spend on science, more people will suicide? No, but a machine that will find this data really useful and suggest you that the two data are correlated. Don't laugh, that can happen also with your health. Or Japanese passenger cars sold in US, I work a lot to find these two statistics, and suicide by crashing of motor vehicles. It looks like it's a fault of Japanese car that you bought. Now, American Scientific, one of the best journals on scientifics, simply published this cover, and the title was The Voodoo of Correlation. Because it's like a magic. Correlation works, but we cannot explain. And so what happened? If you look at the AI, the left part of these images simply show you the different kind of AI model. So you have neural nets, deep learning, statistical model, AOS, SVM, graphical model, Bayesian belief nets, SRL, Markov. I don't pretend that you know what I'm talking. But this is what inside your phone, when you ask to Siri, where is the best pizza around you? On the right side is the ability that we have to explain why the machine is acting in that way. And it's impressive, because neural network and deep learning look at the prediction accuracy really high, but I'm not able to understand or to explain why. And now, this is the core problem in ethical issues with AI. It works, but I don't know why. Can I allow to a machine like that to decide on something? Probably if the machine has to decide on something like Bolt, yes. On human being, I do not know. Who is the decision making? Should be the market? Should be the government? Should be the consumer? Should be the producer? Ethical questions arise when we realize that we have a huge power, but not all the control on that power. And I'm not quoting Spider-Man. Now, the problem is that if you talk with a data scientist told to us that if we have a perfect data set, the machine will do a perfect choice. Is that true? Okay, this is a huge philosophical question that I try to make it simple. What does it mean to have data? We can understand data like a map. So supposing that I get lost from Sacred Heart Friary to JFK Center, I can use the map on my cell phone. But if the map on my cell phone is an exact copy of the reality, with the same leaf, with the same trees, with the same people, cat, a squirrel, and everything that I found on reality on the display of my phone, it is simply useless because it's too complex to help me to decide. And so this is the problem of dataset. A dataset is not an exact copy of the reality. It's a simplification of reality because sensor, cameras, and everything take a simplified version of reality. And so if a dataset is a simplified copy of reality, there is an old way of thinking, Pierre-Simon Laplace, that say that if I know all the reality in one moment, I know all the past, the present, and the future. But if my data are not the reality, this kind of thinking is simple false. So every kind of AI system could make mistake. Ethics arise here. In which way we have to handle that kind of mistake? If you study engineer, you know that when you project something, you are not sure that what you design is what you get. And you use safety. Elevator has a huge system on the respect the one that is needed to have safety. Now, which kind of safety we have to embed inside an AI system to handle this possibility of mistake that AI system has? But more than that, we are not just rational human beings. We are also emotional human beings. A lot of decisions that we make are not just rational. There is a lot of emotion in what we do. But here happens something that justifies because I start this conversation with Galileo. Do you remember when lenses not only change the way in which we see the world, but also the way in which we see ourselves? Now, what happened? That the machine learning algorithms is changing the way in which we understand ourselves and our emotion. And people, especially evolutionary psychologists, are starting to say that the human emotion are simple algorithms. Let me give you an example. Imagine to have a chimpanzee, a little monkey. I use a chimpanzee because it's the most similar to human being monkey that we know. And this monkey is on a tree, and it's a little bit hungry. And it sees a little banana on the other side of the grass, and it's ready to jump and take the banana when the monkey sees a little lion on the side of the grass. If I was the monkey, I calculate the distance between me and the banana, I calculate my average speed, I subtract 10%, just in case. I calculate the distance from me and the lion, I calculate the average speed of the lion, I add 10% if he's hungry, and then I decide yes or no. I never saw a monkey with a calculus machine or with a pencil. But you can have a really brave monkey or a really fearful monkey. The too fearful monkey will die starving. The too brave monkey will die by lion. The monkey that I meet at the zoo is the one with the best evolutionary emotional algorithm that arrived to me avoiding starving and lions. What does it mean? That if my emotion are algorithm, a machine can understand better than me. And so the old fashionable way, let me introduce someone, it's replaced by Tinder, where an algorithm knows you better than yourself. And you can explain yourself not anymore as a mystery, but something that works to an end. It's the same kind of discomfort that Galileo felt in the 16th century. Everything is changing. Now, what is the ethical answer to this kind of problem? This is the way that I propose when I was called to make talk on ethics and AI. The problem is that we have to remove data from the center of our understanding, and we have to put back what is the real values. The real values is not the numerical values expressed by data, but is the ethical values expressed by human being. So in the center has to be the human being and not the data worked by a machine. And so we have to talk about human-centered design. That means that the machine is never a competitor of the human being. We have not to decide between human being or machine, Homo sapiens or Machina sapiens. But the system that we have to develop has to cooperate together to allow to protect the human being and not to jeopardize the human being freedom and so on. Each CD human-centered design is the core AI ethical code. An executive order of the President Trump expressed 1 month ago said that AI in US has to be expression of American values. That is something that is not so far from a human-centered design. It's not so clear yet, but it's not so far. And this is a really interesting moment because we can shape our future. If we start to ask to ourselves, what does it mean to have this kind of machine? Now, the first things that we have to embed inside the machine, an AI machine, is not the free will. We are not God, but it's a free want. We don't want that a machine like that can in some way threaten the human being. Is it that possible to do? Yes, it's possible, because if you are a coder, you know that the machine learning and other AI techniques are developed with a language that is called Python. Now we have a special library in Python that is called PyTorch, that is a statistical library that can give a sense of uncertainty to an AI. So giving a free want to a machine is give to a machine the ability to understand what the machine is calculating. It's really weird. At that point, the machine will ask to the human being, what I have to do. This is a way to let the human being in the center of the decision process, to not skip the human being. That is not possible to be allowed in a Western society. In Europe, we have the GDPR, that is the General Data Protection Rule, and in the General Data Protection Rule, we have a statement that is the global rule for Europe in data that say the citizen has the right to know the criteria why a machine decides something on themselves. This is the same legal expression of these ethical values. What does it mean? Supposing that you have to ask for a mortgage or a loan in a bank. That means that it's not enough that a flag become green or red on the display of the bank. May I have this money? Yes, no. This is not good. The machine has to explain why not. This explainability, it's possible to do. Because, you know, data could be biased. And bias could arise from the using of machine. Let me give you an example. So supposing that you are in one of these huge social network for worker, LinkedIn, okay? And supposing that I'm an HR that is looking for someone that is a programmer with Python competence and PyTorch Express ability. Probably I get 2 pages of Caucasian young men between 18 and 33, and I'm scrolling these pages. At one point I click on one faces just to see the deep curriculum. The machine learning algorithm is recording that my preference is man, white, young. So the next research that I do in LinkedIn, for example, lawyer, the people will be listed with my preference that the machine recorded. So I see before, white, man, young. This is an involuntary bias that I injected inside the machine. Now, explainability is the thing that when a machine answers to me, no, I don't give you the loan, they have to say, it has to say why. I don't give you the loan because your average deposit in your bank account is less of 20,000. Okay, it's honest. I have 90, 90, and 99. I will improve myself. Or there is a data error. Look, I have 25,000. I can correct it. Or I'm not giving you the loan because your sex is this. That's a bias. Or I don't give you the loan because your zip code is this. That's a bias. I don't give you the loan because your religion is. That's a bias. So explainability, it's an ethical directive that is needed to give to the citizen the freedom and the rights that they deserve as a citizen. Then we can think some kind of ethical rules that can help us in giving to the machine more autonomy, more agency in a mixed human-machine reality. To do that, we have to develop a new discipline. So, like you heard before, data is expressed by numerical values. Ethics is expressed by ethical values. To allow a machine to make an ethical choice, we have to find a way to express a moral values in a numerical way, to allow a machine to compute an ethical value. To do that, we need to develop something new that we can call Algorethics. You know, as a Franciscan, I love to baptize. I baptize these terms. Algorethics mean ethics of algorithms. Means give to the machine the ability to compute unethical values. Every machine works with statement of this kind. If this, then that. And this is a judgment. What does it mean this? And what does it mean that? So ethics have to go deep inside every coding activity to transform coding in an ethical activity. To do that, we use a sophisticated algorithms, and we can produce or think some kind of ethical directive that can make it workable. Now I give you a fast example of 4 ethical directives. All these ethical directives are doable with the actual state of technology. The first one is anticipation. What does it mean that an AI should be able to anticipate us? Supposing that me and Father Joe are working together, and I see Father Joe coming from the door with a lot of stuff inside his hands. I can understand that Joe needs an help. I can help him. Now, anticipation is the ability of machine to understand what's my intention and to cooperate with me. Because in that way, the human side of machine-human relationship is the one that has the power, is the one that has the value. The second ethical rule, we could call that transparency. So supposing that you work with a robotic arm. A robotic arm is projected to maximize the speed of movement. That means that if a robotic arm has to choose between 2 bottles on a table, it will move in the middle, and at the end it moves and take 1 bottle. It's impossible for me to understand which bottle we would like to pick. But if I see someone of you that walk in the direction of the table, I understand you are thirsty. You would like to have some water. So the same things has to be happen for the machine. The machine has to be transparent. The machine has to communicate to me what is the last stand of the machine. Once again, I'm the value. I'm not a data for the machine. The third ethical direction is what we can call customization. So suppose that you have an autonomous vehicles, not so far to come. And suppose that these autonomous vehicles has learned to drive from the handbook of DMV. Now, if it happened in Italy, you can jump on at 9 a.m., then I know very well my people. At noon, you are still in the same place because people will jump you on top, on left, on right, and you simply have something like, you will become furious, and you get out of the car saying, this stuff is useless. But if I give a deep machine learning system to the car. And the car learned to drive from Italians. You jump in at 9:15, you are at the phone calling 911, please someone help me. Why? Because you are a rational, emotional being. And your emotional answer is the one that has to tailor the answer of the machine. Because stress is something that puts you in a suffering state. Machine is never stressed. You are. And so in the human-machine relationship, the ethical point is protect the human being. And simple try to describe how the first theme, human is the center, could be protected with easy-to-do algorithms. The last one is the adequation. I don't know if you see this little robot that can clean the surface. Roomba is one of the major producers. If it was here, at one point Roomba decide that the floor has to be clean, it starts. And he has to clean. Also, if you would like to stay here, jump, taking a coffee, what else? Now, adequation means that between my hands and the machine hands, I have the priority, because I am the human being. So imagine an healthcare robot for a cardiac messages. If the doctor say, not now, it's not now. Also, if the machine is able to do a cardiac message now. This, for example, was just to give us the sense that algorithmics it's possible, that algorithmics will be not automatics, that we need a policy making to let it a must, to let this machine to be sold and used in a complex society like the one that we live in. Now, which kind of ethical driver could drive this AI adoption? The first one is the fear of uncertainty. That is a really engineering statement. My father, an engineer, was used to say, think twice, cut once, because you are not sure. You are not sure of what can happen. So the first thing is a precautionary principle. When you have a machine and you have a human being, think twice, act once, because you don't know what can happen. The second one that we can take from the Declaration of Independence of the United States, it's an endless tension between equality and pursuit of happiness. The most bloody battle of the 18th, 19th, 20th centuries was made to say that we are all equal. An algorithm with the power of give a profilation of the human being can produce the most unequal society that we can imagine. So equality has to be one of the core values to avoid that profilation of the human being become one of the most discriminating power in the hands of someone. And the other one is the pursuit of happiness. The Western society understands themselves as democratic if everyone has the power to tell to himself what I want to do. Profilation algorithm can give you or can force you to have one behavior. And so, from a social point of view, equality and pursuit of happiness are two of the ethical core values that we need to hard write as a policy inside the AI. But unfortunately, I come from Europe, and I know very well that the bloodiest centuries was the 20th. We discovered freedom, we discovered democracy with the French Revolution, but we discovered in the 20th century that these values could be simply denied if we don't have written policy that make it sure for everyone. So it's not enough that we put fear of uncertainty, it's not enough that we put equality and pursuit of happiness inside the policy of our AI if we don't write it in a legal system that protects us. So we need a regulation. And that was impressive And it was impressive in American market when Brett Smith, the president of Microsoft, go to the president of the United States and ask for a regulation for facial recognition technology. It's impressive, huh? It's like if a tobacco producer asks for regulation. It's like if a gun producer asks for regulation. People that work in those companies know that everything could change, and they are asking for regulation. We need to be aware, because that could be really dangerous. If a monocratic state, like China, for example, will be able to control our face, to control our behavior, to control ourselves with algorithms that are inside information system that we use to live. And the last thing is that also society, also industry, should regulate themselves. I will close with these final remarks. It's really important for us, I know in this university you have a business center, to well understand what does it mean ethics for business. Because it could be really bad understandable. To let you understand what does it mean ethic for business, let me start from an example. This is Central Park, New York, my beloved place. Now, if you are in the real estate business, you can understand Central Park like a no business zone. And if ethics is like Central Park, what does it mean? That is a no business zone. If this is true, ethics is the worst enemy of business. Is that true? Look at the history of Central Park. Central Park was a decision of the New York municipality at the late 19th century. At that time, it cost $5 million to acquire this land. 2,000 families was pushed away, and for 12 years, a lot of workers worked for $1.50 a day to produce this. Now, what happened? That the last evaluation of Central Park was made in 2005, and it was $500 trillion. And the value of the house that are facing Central Park, they skyrocket. So if ethics is like Central Park, that means that if ethics is not by design, later it's too costly to apply to the system. And because the real estate gained value from this ethical section in Manhattan, ethical is not something that is subtracting value to business, but it's something that can give value to business. So also from an ethical perspective, we have to push ethics as a way to produce value inside the business. And that has to be explainable to company, explainable to people that work in company. It has to be communicated. Now, what remains? AI, it's already in our pocket. If you have an iPhone, try to ask to Siri, Siri, I would like to commit a suicide. Can you help me? And Siri will suggest you the nearest suicide prevention center. This is not AI. This is a line of code that the programmer put in because he studied by Jesuits and he remembers something about ethics. Not bad for a Jesuit student, but I'm working with them. I love them. But this is the point. Now, this is a university. This university has a huge mission to let the student to be aware of the changing of society, to be the student aware of the transformation that AI are pushing in society, to be everyone aware that ethics is the core business to allow this society to continue going on the same value that shaped it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Paolo. I don't have a second microphone, but I thought maybe, are there any questions that you would like to maybe ask of, how about maybe, can we hold on this, maybe just so any students would like to ask any questions real quick? All right, Father Dennis.
Yeah, just a simple thing. I have an Echo. She knows my music tastes. She knows I want to know about the weather and stuff like that. How much have I transferred to the machine my independence?
I will answer like a geek, okay? The best joke of a geek in AI is this one. An AI algorithms enter in a bar. And the bartender asks to the algorithm, what do you drink? And the algorithm answer, what drink the others? So what does it mean? That a machine learning system is not based on your personal data, but it collects data. So it profiles you. This is the core question of profiling. Collecting different kind of data, I can find correlation. So it's not important what Dennis gang like. But Dennis gang is inside a group that like that kind of music. Now, this kind of profilation is a kind of prediction on what happened. But the last psychological studies reveal to us that when you apply to human behavior, prediction become also a production. So you will like much more the music that Alexa will suggest to you. And this is studied, this is in a lot of paper, and this is the reason why profiled data are so precious for marketing people. Because they can produce that you acquire something because they profiled you. So applied to the human behavior, profilation is a production of that behavior. In other terms, is a political action. And you can see that what happened with fake news and blah, blah, blah.
Father Paolo, what advice would you have to our young people with regard to how to remain human in such a AI-driven world?
Okay, I have not a straight answer, but let's start from describing what does it mean to be human. To be human means believe in something. There was an age in which we believed to the gods of Olympus. So supposing that I have a core question for myself, should I get married with Mary or with Ellen? I got with my chicken to the temple, and I said to the priest, Mary or Ellen? And he made a correlation between the stairs and the chicken and said, Mary. Then we evolved, and we believe that it's not a priest in a Greek temple that gives us the right answer, but it's our heart. And so my heart say, Ellen. Now, tomorrow I will ask to Google, Google, Mary or Helen? And Google answer me, thanks to your smartwatch, the newest model, I know your heartbeat from when you born. Because you have the last model, I know also the ability of transmit electricity of your skin. That with my algorithm, it's connected to the sugar level of your bloodstream. Because you click on I accept, I know your position where you were. And so I know your heartbeat and your sugar level every time that you meet Ellen and Mary. Because I'm Google, I have also the data of Mary and Helen. Compared to the 400 million of data that I have in my database, I'm telling you that in a long term, Mary is better. Funny. Think to the last pizza shop that you find asking to Google what's the best. Now you believe to the machine. So being human means to believe. I think that my friar and myself can tell you that believe is connected to something else. And that makes us human. And so on. Otherwise, it becomes anomaly.
So I have a question. You've mentioned that you've been consulting with Microsoft and I don't know about Google or Amazon. These are all big corporations that, okay. Uh-oh, I've got an Android phone. But they are kind of coming to you as a consultant, as a Catholic priest, and they were kind of turning a little bit to the church. Can you say a little bit more about what is the significance of that relationship between these organizations that are using artificial intelligence in the church and its tradition in ethics and moral theology?
Yeah, it's a really interesting time. Can you imagine me dressed like this on a Microsoft stage talking about ethics? I never talked to myself in that condition. But it was impressive, and it was impressive that not Catholic people that work at Microsoft, they agree with myself. And this is a really strange moment in which, also when Galileo developed the scientific revolution, the knowledge split himself in a different way. Before, the study of nature was assigned to philosophy, after became biology. So because we are in a really similar period, the splitting of the knowledge that we know before is becoming not anymore valid. And they feel that the church, this is what I'm quoting Brett Smith of Microsoft, has timeless value that we need to anchor in our product. When he said that, not to the Pope, I was with him to the Pope, but when he said that to the President of Italy, I said to myself, look, there is a layman here. We have a long history of fighting between laicity and secularized society and Catholic society. So the man in charge of the most powerful IT company today tell to this laicized society that we need the church, something is changing. And it's a really wonderful moment to live. Now, I have not a project, I have not an agenda, I have not a plan, but I can say these things to you, a Catholic institution, like I can say to Microsoft, like I can say to a government. This morning, 4 a.m., I was in my room and I was making a Skype connection to Italian government because we are producing the next version of that document. And the title will be, my proposal, Renaissance, with the capital AI at the center. Italy was well known for Renaissance, where the human being was at the center. It's time for Renaissance for AI, in which human being could be at the center. So if a poor friar can invent the title of a state government, of a state of the G7 club, something new is happening. It's an interesting time to live. My natural intelligence tell me that you're tired.
So with that, we'll end our presentation. Can we give a hand again to Father Paolo? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.